Hey everyone, my name is Callum. In this episode we step into the heart of Rajasthan's parched landscape and bring 3 iconic Indian hoofstock habitats to life. The dry forests of Rajasthan are home to an incredible array of unique hoofstock, including the Blackbuck with its distinctive spiral horns, and Nilgai, the largest antelope in Asia. That's not all though. A leap into the past brings us face to face with India's impressive dinosaurs, with 2 highly detailed dinosaur fossils built for an outstanding educational display. This episode has a lot to cover, as there are some pretty major changes being made to the Coldwater Fall Zoo, especially regarding the Untamed India section. But first of all, we can see a dinosaur being made, so let's talk about that first. I really want to include a significant educational experience at the zoos I make, and zoos often love to include a dinosaur display, although it's usually full cast diorama models that resemble the real dinosaur rather than dinosaur fossils. Dinosaur fossils, however, are so much more interesting and showcases my prop building skills, demonstrating how small pieces can come together to make something outstanding, such as a real-size dinosaur display. So the dinosaur build starts with the skull. I use a mix of gutter caps and conservation flower pot painted feet to create a very difficult but also very realistic dinosaur skull, following real measurements to effectively scale the dinosaur correctly. I also take advantage of some of the more recent DLC pieces, especially those in the Americas and Asia pack with their fantastic small pieces. For example, the America pack has these small metal pieces that are the perfect size for realistic dinosaur teeth. Previously, dinosaur fossil blueprints on the workshop used the highly inaccurate 2D font commas for teeth, which makes the dinosaur look menacing, but it doesn't portray teeth like they are in an actual dinosaur fossil. The dinosaur I am building is one of the most well-known Indian predators, the Rajasaurus. The dinosaur, whose name means king lizard, is a carnivorous theropod dinosaur that was discovered in the Lamenta Formation in western India. Rajasaurus now likely inhabited the area of the now named Narmada River Valley in west to central India in the late Cretaceous period, about 72 to 66 million years ago. Only parts of the skeleton of the Rajasaurus have actually been found, including the brain case, spine, hip bone, and legs. This is a first for an Indian theropod, however, and scientists have a good idea of what the whole animal may have looked like, thanks to more complete fossils of some of its relatives, such as the Mayungasaurus of Madagascar. This build was very much inspired by that dinosaur, with some minor edits that are known to be key features of the Rajasaurus. One key feature of the Rajasaurus is that it sported a single short horn on the top of its head. However, basically no one knows exactly what its purpose was. It may have been for display or for headbutting other Rajasaurus. At 6.6 meters long, the Rajasaurus was one of the larger members of the Abelsaurid group. A well-known dinosaur from the same group would be the Carnotaurus. While this is a pretty big dinosaur, this isn't massive by late Cretaceous theropod standards. Dinosaurs like the Tyrannosaurus and Giganotosaurus were much larger. With the Rajasaurus skull complete, sporting its classic theropod skull and its unique short horn, the next stage is creating the vertebrae to start forming the body of the dinosaur. Use of the conservation gar pipes, flower pot feet, and even some of the Twilight DLC window corner stones are perfect for creating this very difficult looking vertebrae shape. The vertebrae is then built 6 to 7 meters long, shaped to the Rajasaurus body, and then lots of other body details such as the arms, legs, and dorsal and cervical ribs are built. While I can talk so much about the fascinating build of a dinosaur skeleton, I'm sure we all want to know about the new zoo plans. So there are 4 points of the new plans I want to cover. First of all, why? Why are there new project plans in the first place? The main reason is that Untamed India has sort of taken over the entire point of an aquatic theme for the Coldwater Fall Zoo, and the zoo has now sort of turned into a testing ground for any new zoo ideas I have. A supposedly North American zoo with a massive South Asian animal area doesn't make any sense at all, where instead the river theme I really wanted to go with has kind of been completely forgotten. It really wasn't supposed to be an Inca Trail, Alaskan Wilderness and India theme, which I have absolutely no idea how to link those up to create a realistic zoo experience. The second reason is that Untamed India is huge already. It is the size of the Inca Trail, but maybe only 30 to 40% complete of its plan, that would eventually take away space from other zoo areas like the Alaskan Wilderness, which is actually water themed, not a semi-arid Indian area. That's the why. Now Untamed India is going over to a new zoo file by the process of blueprinting all the buildings and habitats, then inserting them into the new zoo file where needed. That leaves Coldwater Fall Zoo with lots of room for the next stage. This stage is effectively reworking the entire zoo into a river theme where I have lots of exciting new plans. Regrettably, this does mean the existing Alaska area is to be completely scrapped and the future of the Inca Trail is unknown. The idea is to turn Coldwater Fall Zoo into a zoo inspired by two of the major aquatic zoos, Singapore River Wonders and Aqua Zoo Leeuwarden. The most important thing here is the integration of transport rides, because for some reason barely anyone does them good enough. Whether it's a steam train ride along a river's edge or a boat ride, this is still to be decided. Now the plan is basically going to be based around rivers of the world, however this is not going to be like the major rivers of the world, because that's not that creative. Singapore River Wonders already does that kind of thing. They have the Nile, the Amazon, the Congo and the Yangtze rivers, so I've decided to go with another style. The rivers we will see will be North America's Yukon River, Europe's Danube River, Asia's Amur River, and Africa's Zambezi River. The Inca Trail could stay the same, or perhaps a South America river such as the Paraguay or Magdalena rivers, both with a fantastic range of animals to choose from. So that's Coldwater Fall Zoo plans covered now. Let's move on to what becomes of Untamed India. The new zoo for the India theme will be a realistic zoo based in India called the Satpura Zoo. The name is based off the Satpura mountain range in central India, so I guess that's where the zoo could be based. Most importantly, it'll be following the style of Indian zoos such as layout, animal species and foliage, rather than a generic Indian temple themed zoo, which is pretty stereotypical that in little to no zoo in India actually looks like that. Satpura Zoo will be a loop layout inspired by the Vizag Zoo and will be featuring 5 distinct animal zones. The one we are most familiar with at Untamed India will be the Western Ghats with a similar layout to the Untamed India, and will include both the lion-tailed macaw and the great hornbill, a new addition of the dhole and Indian giant squirrel. The dry forest, the very area I'm working on at the moment, will expand into more ungulate and predator habitats. Bengal tiger, blackbuck, nilgai, chital deer, wild boar and a few others could be included. Marsh wetland focuses on the river marsh wetlands of northern India, where Indian rhino, gharial, wading birds and swamp deer could be found. Eastern Himalayas brings the adorable red panda, snow leopard, blue sheep, while the African savannah brings the few African animals found in Indian zoos, such as hippopotamus, giraffe, zebra and ostrich. The dinosaur fossils will also be included in this zoo, not just in one smaller display like I am building right now, but rather a fully fledged natural history museum showcasing the fossils of displays of several prehistoric periods. Think of Jurassic, Cretaceous, the Eocene, Fossil displays all under one roof. Alright then, back to the dinosaurs. Joining the Rajasaurus is the Icysaurus, an Indian sauropod dinosaur who lived in the same area as the Rajasaurus, which Rajasaurus likely preyed on juvenile Icysaurus. Inspired by the Badlands scenes in the prehistoric planet show, this display represents the Indian Deccan Traps, one of the largest and most active volcanic regions in the world. The Deccan Traps cover an area of 200,000 square miles, or 500,000 square kilometers, where a total of 122,000 cubic miles, or 512,000 cubic kilometers, have been deposited. For reference, the Mount St. Helens eruption in North America produced 1 cubic kilometer of volcanic material. The Deccan Traps were a deadly region in India, with the landscape covered in cooled lava, barren rocky landscapes, and deadly gases from the volcanic eruptions. The Deccan Traps may have played a role in the extinction of the dinosaurs. Most of the basalt that was erupted between 68 and 60 million years ago, where deadly gases from eruption may have changed the global climate and led to the demise of the dinosaurs. In the past, the Deccan Traps may have even covered most of India, showing just how large these eruptions really were. However, due to erosion and plate tectonics, they remain in west-central India, especially in the northern region of the Western Ghats. Regardless though, they remain one of the largest volcanic features on Earth, with their 1.2 miles or 2 kilometers thick layer of flood basalt. Building a volcanic-inspired landscape is very much building a rocky tundra landscape made with the use of lots of tundra rocks, building up a layered display of cooled lava where dinosaurs would have walked on to travel to their desired locations. When deadly gases didn't pose a threat to dinosaurs, predators like the Rajasaurus would have taken advantage of this to prey on juveniles of sauropod herds, as the Rajasaurus and many other theropods in India were ambush predators. As the Deccan Traps are also known for their erupting lava, volcanic rock pieces and lava pieces from the Oceania DLC allow a central display for a lava flow to separate the Rajasaurus and the Icysaurus. Enough about dinosaurs this episode, let's head back to the modern times where we can find some amazing hoofstock in India's dry forest. This episode we will see 3 antelopes, the Blackbuck, the Indian gazelle, and the Nilgai. These hoofstock habitats are inspired by many habitats found in Indian zoos. This episode I use references of India's National Zoological Park, the Delhi Zoo. Inspiration and image references were sent by Kanu, a good friend and Planet Zoo modder who's been very helpful in Indian zoo details and motivation for this untamed India builds. Dry moats made of angled concrete walls offer a unique and realistic way to exhibit these antelopes without the use of protruding fences or water to hold in these antelopes. This dry moat is about 4 or 5 meters deep with a gradual slope, allowing antelopes to return back to their habitat if they accidentally enter the dry moat. I've seen way too many examples of dry moats in Planet Zoo where animals have little chance of safely moving back to their habitat. Obviously for this build it isn't really an issue as the null barrier won't enter the dry moat, but it's the general point of building a habitat that's realistic, whether or not the animal actually can enter such areas. The dry moat will be slightly curved for an aesthetically pleasing look and also carries on to the second antelope habitat. Continuing with the Delhi Zoo inspiration, a large herbivore safe barrier is made. Plaster trim, a 4-meter mesh panel, and the thin metal beams with an X shape in the middle provides an Indian looking barrier, not faux rocks or anything like that. This barrier will be used for both of the antelope habitats to maintain the same style, as the middle barrier here is to separate the antelope species from each other. A hidden barrier here would have been really nice, but that would increase the space needed for both habitats by probably a third. These antelope habitats are already pretty big, offering an expansive forest and grassland to explore. Looking at the blackbuck and gazelle habitat now, this is a pretty big habitat with a planned sparse forest and open grassland to try recreate their more open habitat in Rajasthan. Rather than exploring the dense dry forest where like tigers can be found in Ranthambore National Park, blackbuck and Indian gazelle are more found in open grasslands where tigers are replaced by Indian wolves and other predators like feral Indian dogs. Large grassland trees and an abundance of dry grassland foliage build up an exciting grassland habitat which is dominated by buffalo and blue-stem dry grasses. The animals, of course, are the most exciting part, so let's take a look at what we will see today. The first up is the blackbuck. These majestic blackbuck are known for their large spiraling horns and distinctly marked faces with white patches around their eyes. Blackbuck can be found in a range of habitats including open plains, grasslands and open woodland. Native to South Asia, blackbuck once roamed throughout most of the Indian subcontinent. Today, this species is only found in India and Nepal, found in the dry grasslands of central India, with populations also found in western and eastern India. Blackbuck have also been declared regionally extinct in Pakistan and Bangladesh. Blackbuck was once the most abundant hoofed mammal in India and Pakistan, but their populations have been greatly reduced through overhunting and habitat loss. In 1975, the Nepal population had been reduced to just 9 blackbuck. Conservation efforts like hunting bans and protected areas established for blackbuck have increased that number to 200. Blackbuck are some of the few antelopes that have sexual dimorphism, where males have distinctive spiraling horns with a rich dark brown coat, while females do not grow horns and have a pale brown coat. Blackbuck are very sociable animals who live in herds from 5 to 50 animals, where the herd will graze most of the day, even in the scorching hot temperatures, a unique adaptation of the blackbuck. Predators include Indian leopards, Indian wolves, and golden jackals. Blackbuck escape them via speed. They can leap high into the air and gallop away at speeds of up to 50 miles per hour or 80 kilometers per hour. Mixed with the blackbuck in this habitat is the Indian gazelle. The Indian gazelle, also known as the Chinkara, is a gazelle species native to South Asia in India and Pakistan. These gazelles are very shy and nervous in the wild and do not travel very far. Chinkara are revered and are considered sacred by the Vishnoi community of Rajasthan, possibly explaining the large population that resides there. These gazelles prefer dry forests, open woodland and semi-arid desert. Most of them live in the Thar Desert in western India, where about 80,000 of them live. One of the adaptations of the Chinkara is that they can survive for days without water and practically survive on dew and water obtained from the leaves and plants. The local name of Chinkara comes from the noises they make. They are generally frightened by humans and other animals, so when alarmed, they stamp their forefoot on the ground and emit a sneeze-like hiss through their nose. Chinkara in turn means the sneezer. Despite being considered a regional icon, habitat loss and overhunting threatened the species in the 1950s. Today they have a status of least concern thanks to conservation efforts that helped re-establish a healthy population. The last animal we will see this episode is the largest of them all. It's the Nilgai. Nilgai, translated literally, means blue cow or blue bull. This is because the male's blue-grey coat. The males have a distinctive throat tuft and short horns. In a way they very much look like a bull than a traditional antelope. These large antelopes are native to India, Nepal and Pakistan, mostly living in separate male and female grazing herds, found in open woodland or farmland. Despite the fact the Nilgai is considered sacred in Hindu culture, mostly due to how they resemble a cow, they still suffer from habitat loss and are often poached by local farmers due to their preference for agricultural crops. Male and female Nilgai can be easily distinguished. Males are larger with their blue-grey coat and horns, while females are smaller and have a brown coat and do not grow horns. Even with their large size, Nilgai have lots of predators in their range. Tigers, leopards, feral dogs, striped hyena, wolves and lions all prey on the Nilgai. While this tour might not be something permanent, but it's still a nice enough area to tour. Across from the Bengal tiger habitat is the very prominent Dinosaur Display with its towering tundra rocks above the dinosaurs. The display has lots of educational sites about dinosaurs in India, the dinosaurs featured themselves and the significance of the Deccan traps covered in prehistoric India and their influence over the region. This specifically includes a map of India and Madagascar which split in the late Cretaceous period. The most exciting dinosaur here is the Rajasaurus with its imposing skeleton taking the centre of the dinosaur display. Each of these dinosaurs take a day to build to give a reference of how difficult these are to build. Like the Rajasaurus skull took around 90 minutes to complete, as it was the most difficult part of the build to ensure the scale was exactly right. The other dinosaur we see here is the Icysaurus, a towering Indian sauropod but still classed as a medium-sized sauropod, which is insane. It doesn't have a patch on the huge sauropods found in Argentina. Past the dinosaurs is effectively a hoof-stock display, but just two habitats for now. The dry forest definitely continues with the mixed grassland and forest trees. We first come across the Nilgai, Asia's largest antelope species. This is a pretty large habitat with lots of foliage, creating a natural environment. Just a tiny bit difficult to spot these antelopes even if they are the largest. With the Delhi Zoo-inspired dry moat and fencing, it does offer a unique experience into viewing these antelopes than what one would normally see. 2 males and 3 females inside this habitat, I believe. They are definitely spread out across this large habitat, and possibly inside the backstage as well, thanks to its abundance of covered bedding. Once the Nilgai actually come out into the habitat centre, we get a great view of these majestic antelopes. The pair of males here are easily visible against the lush, dry grassland. Next to the Nilgai habitat is an even larger antelope habitat, which is a mixed habitat for Blackbuck and Chinkara or Indian gazelle. With the smaller size of these antelopes, it may be a bit difficult to spot them, but I have placed a couple of those enrichment items near the viewing area to encourage them to come a bit closer. A bit different than the previous habitat, this one represents the more semi-arid environment where these 2 antelopes are found, such as the grasslands between the dry forest and the Thar desert in Rajasthan. While the male blackbuck with its iconic sparkling horns isn't really making an appearance yet, we can spot some of the female blackbuck and Chinkara wandering about the dry grassland foliage. In areas where the grasses open up, we can get some nice views of the Chinkara, which is actually the Dorcas gazelle mod. One of the variants for that gazelle mod almost recreates the look of the Chinkara really well. Heading to the backstage building, we can see this is a vastly different layout than the tiger backstage we toured in the last episode. Hoofstock pens with wood and metal gates create a simple but realistic hoofstock backstage. Most interestingly, I managed to recreate the habitat gate barrier as a placeable piece, allowing the use of this gate for multiple hoofstock pens instead of instead of having 1 or 2 habitat gates for the habitats, and then some random custom built gates for all the other pens. As this is a multi-habitat backstage with all 3 antelopes using this backstage, the Nilgai have 3 pens on the left, while the Blackbuck and Chinkara get all the pens on the right. So that's the last episode of this Untamed India before we see the move to this new Satpura Zoo map. These habitats will make an appearance again somewhere down the line, but honestly I have no idea just yet. Remember to like, comment, subscribe to the channel and join my Discord for new episode discussions. Thanks for watching everyone, and see you next time.